Kaustav, starting off with the very first question, how were your JU days and what do you miss the most?
Great question. So yeah, I studied civil engineering from 1998 to 2002. And I would say my JU days was a combination of class and non-class activities. So yeah, I think every semester I found a couple of classes that I would like to attend and which I always attended. And there were other classes that I found no interest in and which I never attended. And but I think the most important thing that was very important for me at JU was my friend circle. So we were like a group of like 30 people from various different departments, so civil, chemical, electrical, electronics, computer science, production. And even today, we stay in touch. We have a WhatsApp group. What's 20 years later, and that we are still friends. Last year, we met up like a specific group of these 30 people. We met up in New York after like 10 years or something like that. So yeah, we still stay in touch. What I miss, um, I was relatively way more chill than I am now. And so I think I was a lot more chill. I think I had a lot more time for a lot more different things, which I don't have anymore. But yeah, I think it was something. It was a time where one could explore a lot of different possibilities, different things you could do with your life. And even as time has moved on, I have always kind of adhered to that philosophy that no matter how old I get, I would rather have that understanding of how I can switch things around. So yeah, I always think that there is always time to make changes.
What
And that's
was
kind
uh,
of
some what was some
Very
non-class
nice.
activity that you enjoyed the most? If you could share with us today.
I think it was literally doing nothing. It was this act of
Chilling
doing
out in
nothing.
OAT.
Or like next to because I was in engineering, next to Tetsu's carom room and all of that. So I cannot I don't know how to play carom. I'm not very good at TT. I'm not good at playing cards. I'm not really good at any of this. But it was just literally hanging around people who were doing this and literally doing nothing. And this whole act of doing nothing was quite, I mean, like I had like 100% attendance at JU. Class probably not that much. I even went to JU on weekends. So
You
I
were
went.
omnipresent in the campus, if you want to simply put that.
I was always there on the campus, but I can't be said about class though. So yeah.
Did you live near JU or had a PG or were you
I
hostel
live near
candidate?
JU. So I'm from Baligan Circular Road. So I had like
Okay.
20 minutes by bus.
Vishti, thank you, Pastor, for your insights about your earlier days. But the thing is that things exist today also. Today also we are in campus, but we are not in our classes. So a very wonderful, cherished memory to be cherished. So okay, you transited your career from civil engineering to aerospace engineering, then to MBA.
Yeah.
What kept you motivated to keep going?
So I am a person who gets bored. I do get bored a lot of doing the same things, um, which is probably why I love my current job so much. So when I was doing when I was at JU, I was doing civil engineering. I love structural engineering a lot. I love structures. Anything to do with structures, I those are the classes I attended. And then after that, the time comes where you need to do masters and all of that. And you do the typical stuff. I tried to give CAT and didn't get through all the CAT and all the other ones that come along with it. I also sat for GATE, and thankfully I was quite fortunate to have a very good score in my GATE. And that kind of opened up the possibility of studying anything I wanted in any university. But I wanted to find a link, like coming from knowing and loving structural engineering, what is it that where I would fit in the most? And I didn't want to study just civil engineering because I already studied that for 4 years. So what is it that I can study knowing the British structures? And aerospace was the only thing that was there, because you could get into aerospace from civil, mechanical, electrical, or one of those. So that's how I kind of made the jump to aerospace, and aerospace sounded really cool as well. So I'm not gonna lie. So that sounded really cool. I was like, okay, let's go and study aerospace. It's multidisciplinary. It's gonna be hard.
In
So
in
let's
fact,
check it
I'm
out.
also thinking to pave my way to aerospace engineering. I wanted to do aerospace during my undergrad days, but couldn't secure a seat in IIT. So currently, as I'm
Mm,
studying in construction engineering, which is very similar to civil engineering, and structures is what
yeah.
amazed me as well. So I'm also thinking of parting my ways to aerospace engineering.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, like I was at IISC for 2 years, one of the best. Again, I learned so much, and it's helped me understand a lot of different concepts, and it helped me become more multidisciplinary in my thinking. And that otherwise I don't think I would have been able to, and that's been really helpful.
But didn't you feel pressurized that all of your friends are joining the IT industry as there was an IT boom in the early 2000s and you are going to pursue MTech, that also in aerospace engineering, which you didn't had in your undergrad days? How was your reaction of your parents and your friend circle when you decided that you want to pursue MTech instead of taking up a job?
I think my parents were cool with it. I think my parents were totally cool with it. They wanted me to do a master's, so they were fine with it. I personally, I kind of felt like I didn't really think that, oh, I'm not going into a job or something. I was like, okay, I'll do it later. Let me just finish off the master. This sounds really interesting. I had a couple of other friends who were also going to masters from computer science as well, and so I didn't really feel that pressure. And then there was like a whole bunch of my friends who also moved to Bangalore. So I moved to Bangalore to do my masters. They also moved to Bangalore to work in IT and other areas, and I would still hang around with them on weekends. And this is the same. This is like a subset of the same 30 people, that I hung around for 4 years. So I was like, okay, no big deal. I'm still getting a scholarship. I still get money to do something, and I'm like, okay, I'll do things later on. And so yeah,
What was the monthly stipend at IISc?
That,
I used to get 5,000 rupees.
that time it was
5,000.
Yeah, I mean,
5,000
this is
rupees.
2002.
Adjusting inflation, it would be around 12, 13,000 in today's term.
no more than
Probably,
that.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't get through CAT. I'm not good at mental maths.
Oh, oh,
Okay, okay.
one of our member is asking a question. What were the some cultural and academic differences you noticed between JU and IISc?
So I think in JU, they try to teach you what is there in the textbook. Okay, they try to teach you exactly what is there in the textbook, and it's kind of the curriculum is sort of laid out for you. Whereas IISc, it was literally, I kid you not, it was probably, I told every friend of mine, it's probably 50 times more difficult. Everything was 50 times more difficult. I probably worked 18 hours a day for 5 days for 2 years. So that's the effort because they give you a class test, and then the class test is open library. Go figure. And you run around the library, the library is not going to help you. My thesis guide always used to run his test used to be open time. So first time I took his course, I started at 4 p.m. I finished at 11 p.m. In between, I went for dinner. At 11 p.m. I gave up. The second time I took another course, don't ask me why I took it again, another course from him, and he was my guide as well. I started at 4 p.m. and I finished at 1 a.m. And that kind of built a certain amount of mental resilience that you kind of know that, okay, you can manage it. Under pressure, you can manage it. And that's what it does. It's like every course is really, the standard is so high that you have to push yourself really, really hard. And there was like someone in fluid mechanics, if you get 3 out of 25, you might be actually first in class.
3 out of 25?
Really?
Yes.
It seems like my CT score.
Literally, I'm telling you, if you get 3 out of 25, you, by relative grading, all courses were relatively graded. 3 out of 25, you might be first in class in that class test. If you can manage even 3 points, most people are going to be at 0. So it kind of builds. It makes you very. I think it made me more chill in life, in the sense that no problem is too hard to solve. You just have to spend enough time on it and put enough effort and concentration.
So it must be very hard for you to transit from chilling in around campus of JU to suddenly working 18 hours a day. How did you manage that? That completely blows my mind.
I think I think I was kind of quite determined to kind of like, okay, I've come this far. I'm not gonna let it. I'm gonna do what it needs to be done. Yeah, it came through, and I think the part that I don't have to memorize things, I don't have to follow the breaking. Yeah. I think that gave me a lot of interest in intrinsically learning things, because I don't have to follow a rule or follow a pattern. It's not like you go to class, they teach you something from the book, and that's something you have to follow. It's like you really have to spend time understanding something, because the questions are not going to be from any book, which means the plane is leveled by people who can really think through things rather than who can memorize a lot. It's something Madhyamik, higher secondary, and all is kind of geared towards a lot of memorization, which I always found very hard.
So that's what IISC
Okay.
is. So my next question would be, post IISC, you joined Jadavpur and Airbus. What was your key role, and what were the projects you were working on, and how was the involvement over Airbus in Germany?
Nice. So very specifically, when I joined GE, I worked mostly on wind turbine blades, building algorithms for wind turbine blades. I worked there for 2.5 years. I enjoyed the first year, hated the next 1.5 years. I was really wanted to get out. And then fortunately, Airbus started their first research center in India. And I was lucky enough to be one of the first 25 employees that Airbus had in India. And I worked on 3 aircraft lines, but basically I worked on this very interesting field called flutter, which is to do with aircraft safety. So in the sense that aircraft wings are structural materials that fly in air, and that creates a coupling field that can create instability when you can lose an aircraft in roughly 5 to 10 seconds. That's what it takes. 5 to 10 seconds, you can lose the whole aircraft. And for 3 years that I spent in Bangalore, I was working on a lot of different aircrafts, on a lot of different analysis geared towards this specific area of wave theory, computational fluid dynamics, and structural dynamics. So there was a lot of partial differential equations all day, all night long that I worked on for 3 years. And then when I moved to Germany, I was one of the youngest members of a A380 task force.
Oh,
So
I just love the
where
A380.
so every A380 that flies in the world has something on it that has my signature on it. So so there is something. So
Very
that's
nice.
that's one of my babies, you know. So I have done flight test on A380. Back in the day, I used to remember a lot more. But yeah, for 3 years I have spent on that aircraft in a task force, and to solve problems to do with structural vibrations and chaos theory. Actually, not structural vibrations; it's chaos. For which there is no closed form solution, and you have to find something. So I have my team and everything across Spain, Germany, France, and UK. And I was one of the youngest member. I was the youngest member of that task force, sort of running one particular side of it. And I think the most enjoyable part was to find the most beautiful things are found in simplicity. So when we are trying to solve the problem, this really hard problem, the final solution was so simple yet so elegant, and that's the beauty of it, and that's something that I have always, from that point onwards, tried to think about, is like, how can something be a simple solution so that it's elegant and beautiful. So yeah, so that was my 3 years, really intense 3 years, met in the sense that it's not, a lot of people say that engineering is a lot of maths. Not really. Engineering is, you get to 80% or 85% with equations, and the remaining 15% you have to close the gap with engineering judgment. And that's, a lot of people didn't have that. I had like a very good sense of, like, how do you close that gap with engineering judgment. And another thing is that when I joined team, and the team over there, initially you have to make yourself heard. You have to make yourself known and established, that you know your shit. You are an established person that knows his shit. So initially there was some people who think that maybe I do not know my stuff, because I've spent 3 years only at Airbus, and these are people, they have spent like 15 to 20 years, their entire career at Airbus, and you are sitting in a room with them. But you have to be really assertive. If you know your shit, you know your shit. That doesn't mean then you have to say it out loud no matter what, because you have to assert yourself respectfully, but you have to assert yourself. And that's something that I learned there very quickly. And that meant that I'm not listening. I'm not only a listener, I'm also a decision maker in the room. And that is very important. That helped me considerably in getting my thoughts across.
How do you make people listen to you, as you have comparatively less experience than your colleagues, and how you made them to listen to you and not
I can work 18 hours, and I can learn fast.
Learn fast and implement faster, right?
Exactly. I can learn fast, and that means I can cover a lot more, and I can assimilate, and then I can read. And then when there are people in the room who are saying things, because I have read through it, there's no rocket science to it. You just have to speak to your peers, speak to who have more experience, and learn as quickly as can you from their experience, and ask like very simple questions. What has worked? What has not worked? What are you finding problems with? What do you think I should be solving? What are the places where you think my skills are going to be useful? And once you ask some of these questions, you get a good lay of the land, and then you spend time honing, trying to catch up on the background information, and then it's rock and roll.
basically communicate your work and always be present around the team.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the very good insights. And so this conversation, we are learning a lot as a freshie of JU. Thanks for that. After almost an experience of 9 years, what made you to pivot to MBA and why LBS? And how did you get selected there? Because many of us in our campus has a dream of pursuing MBA, but we are not aware of many things. So please guide us through.
Yes, absolutely. So again, after 8 years at Airbus, I got bored. I
You
really
were at
got
the
bored.
A380 team.
Yeah, so I was like,
You were
okay,
at
I
the
think
most
this problem.
influential people at Airbus. You were one of the most influential people at Airbus, and you got bored.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's like this aircraft is this, then another aircraft. The aircrafts more or less look the same, and they're just gonna do the same thing. They're gonna fly, and I was like, I've spent pretty much my entire career around engineers, and I was like, if am I going to spend my entire life around engineers? I need something more. I'm getting bored because everyone looks at things in the same way. So I was like, what to do? Because from aerospace, where do you go? You know, it's a very specialist field,
You could have
and
joined Boeing.
I can't.
Oh, oh, is there
So,
any agreement that once you work with Airbus, you can't join Boeing or
for three
any
years.
other company? Okay,
Oh,
I didn't know
uh,
that.
and I think I was philosophically I didn't want to as well. Uh,
Okay.
so so I was quite into Airbus. So there is something you cannot do, and what to do, what else to do, and then I was like, okay, what to do, and then I was like, okay, I have not done the MBA, maybe MBA. What else to do? And London sounds like a great place. And I was kind of also, I was already probably 33 years old at that point, that I decided to do MBA. And if you look at US schools, again, if you look at US schools, people go to US schools when they are like 26. That's like the median intake size age is in US schools. And US schools have like 30% foreign students, 30 to 40% foreign students. Remaining are people from the US. And European schools, business schools, have a much larger proportion of foreign students. And having worked at Airbus, having worked in a multicultural environment, didn't want to lose that. I wanted more of that. So essentially, at my age range, with that multicultural environment that I wanted, there were only two schools. There was London Business School, three actually, London Business School, INSEAD, and IMD, that I could have gone to. I applied to LBS first, and I got through. And I was like, if I have gotten through, why apply other places? And that's how I ended up at LBS.
Law of least effort.
Yeah, it's done. Then why apply at other places? And let's be contented with what I have, and then just move. And now I'm moving from Germany to London. So I was like, okay, I don't want to move to Switzerland. I don't want to move to Paris. I just moved to London. So
Prior to your MBA, you worked for a short time at Microsoft Ventures. What was your work like over there?
no, I don't think. I think it was during. I think it was during LBS. I think it was during
Okay.
LBS.
okay. You have summer internship, right?
Yes. I had like a few internships, and one of them was that.
You
Okay.
also interned
So
at
basically,
Goldman.
I didn't intern. I worked there. So I interned in a forex brokerage, foreign exchange brokerage in analytics. So in customer analytics and all. So that's what I did as part of my internship.
so while you were in LBS, what was the diversity of the class? Ranging from which background people were there, and could you name few good ones, good batchmates of yours?
Oh yeah. So I think the class had about 400 people from 70 different nationalities.
Okay.
And by the end of it, I think I have friends from all the way from someone in Peru or Chile to in Tokyo. In terms of the background, people were from all different backgrounds, from accounting, consulting, language, real estate, marketing. I was from aerospace. There were a few others also from aerospace. and banking, finance, private equity, venture. It was like all over the place, literally. Few people that I know, remember. I mean, like, if you say few names, there is always going to be other names that are going to be unhappy. I think. But yeah, I mean, like, I still have a few friends. I have a really good friend in Portugal. I have a few friends in Israel. I have a few friends in the US, in Spain, in Colombia, in Canada. If I say these things, they know who they are. So I don't have to name out names. In London, as well. But yeah, it's a we again is built around spending time together, trust, spending a lot of time, lot of time discussing parties, etc. Um, things outside the class rather than in the class.
So was
So
your
Kaustav,
working
एक minute, sorry.
hours a day in LBS also at the age of 33?
It was easy. It was easy. It was not that academically hard. I think what happens at LBS is that you have a lot of extracurricular activities, networking events, this event, that event. It's very high on events, so the classwork is fine. Also, they have a non-grade disclosure policy, so which means that no matter whatever grades you get, nobody will ever know. So you just need, as a result, I think I found it more important to build connections and friendships and with as many people as I can during the 2 years that I was there, rather than just focusing on grades and be antisocial. So I kind of chose the former rather than the latter.
What were the clubs you were part of?
I was mostly part of the energy club, the India club, but I think India club was not very active. I think the one place I was like really active was probably the energy club. The tech and media club as well was where I was active. Uh, for some reason, I got roped into the Spanish club as well, because I had a few friends who were like really good friends of mine, and they needed me to handle something to do with their Spanish events. And so I got roped into the Spanish club, and I also did like website for TEDx. There was a TEDx club inside, so I kind of built their entire website for TEDx, working with like designers from the US. Energy Club, I was organizing the Global Energy Summit, and that I was responsible for. Yeah, Tech and Media Club, I was trying to get into the tech world at that point. So I tried to help out wherever I could. So yeah.
What
So,
essentially is
first,
Energy Club?
So the Energy Club is focused on like energy businesses. So a lot of people that come to LBS are previously in energy companies like Shell, BP, Vestas, GE, RE Power, etc. So the Energy Club is essentially about furthering the people getting jobs into the energy industry, or having conversations and networking events and consulting events around the energy practices, and so on. So that's what the Energy Club was about. And it also had a global energy summit, which was like every year there would be a summit where you bring it will be a lot of keynote lectures and conference that around energy related topics, fossil fuel, renewables, and various different things. So at that point I was kind of thinking my bridge from aerospace into business world was energy. But yeah, I think I was wrong.
Okay.
so you worked across various companies and various sectors, to be very much precise. So, what is the biggest role that you have played in one of the industry, and that you have cherished a lot? And could you just say about it?
Which one you enjoyed the most, the banking sector or the aerospace sector?
Basically, question.
Aerospace. I would say aerospace. Between banking and aerospace. What I probably enjoy the most is probably what I do now, as a co-founder. I think having been a co-founder for the last more than 2 years now, a little bit more than 2 years now, the variety, breadth of problems that you work with, deal with, the amount of context switching you have to do on a daily basis, the different types of thinking, different kinds of people you have to handle, etc. It's something that keeps me occupied, that keeps me really focused and energized. I think that's something I never had before, because you're always in a job. You can push the mechanics of the job as far as you want to, but ultimately it's not your own business. And when it's your own business, the stakes are different.
Okay, what is Paradigm and what it is all about? What do you do at Paradigm exactly?
And you are a part of the AI revolution. Congratulations on that.
No, I mean, not part of that, but okay, we're trying to do our part. But yeah, I think so. In a nutshell, how to explain Paradigm? The best way to explain Paradigm is, we are building what is the world's first operating system for analytics. So like how Windows is an operating system on top of your motherboard, how Mac OS is an operating system that brings all the tools that you use today to get your work done. In Paradigm, what we are doing is that analytics is a subsegment of the industry, of whole data industry. There are like a lot of different things. Like you have data science, you have data engineering, and then you have data analytics. So for data analytics, we are building this operating system so that ultimately, if you are a data analyst, you can get your day-to-day work done uninterrupted, with 5 to 6 times better ROI, 100 times faster than anything that is existing in the market today. So that's what Paradigm is about. It's about connecting data analytics and business functions in a single collaborative workflow.
What inspired you to start Paradigm?
Well, I think I faced this problem when I was at Octopus Investments, and I was head of data there. I saw like how a lot of different tools, applications, etc., that my team was using meant that they couldn't get their day-to-day work done. And they're kind of suffering a lot with context switching between 20 different things and actually struggling a lot to be productive. And I thought at that point it's an Octopus only problem. But then when I was at Revolut, I saw the same problem. And I was like, okay, there is no solution for it. I'm kind of seeing the same problem again and again. And then we spoke with a lot of different companies. And I was like, so this problem exists and nobody's really solving for it. It was in the middle of COVID. It's like June, July 2020, we started thinking about Paradigm. I was like, okay, middle of COVID, sounds like a fun time to start a business. It can't be worse than that. It can't get worse than this. And yeah, and then decided that, then we raised raised venture capital money. And then I was like, okay, let's leave job and get started on this journey. And yeah, we were 4 people in January 2021. Today we are about 12, 13 people. We will be 16, 17 in a few weeks. And here we are. I was there 2.5 years. Here I am already more than 2 years. So stable job, unstable job, I'm still have the same tenure.
How much did you raise?
We don't announce that, so I can't say.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Before we get into the rapid fire question, one last thing we would like to ask: share any core JU memory in either Hindi or Bengali.
JU core memory in Hindi or Bengali?
Yes.
Yeah, that you remember the most while you are working around cities of the world.
Hang on. This is quite hard. Okay.
Or you can say the most comic event with your friends.
For
Acha.
example, one time out of nowhere, my whole class skipped one professor's class, and we were called the next day in the HOD's room.
Funnily enough, that happened with us at LBS. So people do flunk classes everywhere.
I didn't think that the people at MBA used to miss classes.
So, যাই হোক, আমার মনে হয় সব থেকে যেটা আমার হয়তো মনে থাকবে সেটা হচ্ছে যে ফাইনালে ওএটি and ওএটির দিন I think it মাইলস এসেছিল and তারপরে মাইলস হলো, তারপরে লোকজন চারিদিকে পড়ে রয়েছে এক্সেট্রা। দেন আমরা থানার ওখানে হোস্টেলে ছাদে গিয়ে তারপরে রেস্ট অফ দ্য নাইট আমরা were there and we watched the sunrise. I think that couldn't মানে ফুল 4 বছরে এত এত কিছু কাণ্ড কারখানা হয়েছে। তার মধ্যে যে আমরা ওএটির এন্ডে রাত্রিবেলা হোস্টেলের ছাদে ওখানে গিয়েও পার্টি করেছি এক্সেট্রা and then the fact that আমরা কেউই জেলে যাইনি, it's an incredible thing.
Peak JU moment.
Yes, it's like the end and yeah, we're still here.
Okay. Harsh, can you get started with the rapid fire, please?
Okay. So
Excited.
rapid fire question. The first question would be a bootstrap company or a equity investment company when you are starting off with a startup.
Equity investment company.
Kolkata or London?
Kolkata.
Favorite Indian food?
Mutton biryani.
Okay. Favorite artist or celebrity?
As in Hindi Bollywood or
Anything.
Hindi Bollywood. We would prefer Hindi Bollywood.
or like where in India, globally?
India and globally, both.
In both.
Okay, so India. India, Amitabh Bachchan. Okay.
Okay.
Globally, one of my favorite, Javier Bardem.
Okay. Favorite startup or company?
Favorite startup or company?
Indian startup, if you could say that.
Okay. Favorite Indian startup. I think for the time being, startups become different companies over time. I think for the time being, I would say Zerodha. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Zerodha has also got the best. Nikhil Kamath has got the best entrepreneurship award of the year
from the government of India.
Great, and I think globally, one of my favorite companies is called Flexport.
What does Flexport do?
They are making the whole process of shipping, like commercial shipping, digitizing commercial shipping. It's one of the most deeply entrenched bureaucratic industries in the world, because there's like so many paperwork that gets done and so much things needs to be done and so many intermediaries, and they're digitizing that entire process. And I love the founder of there. He's got plenty of guts to actually go after such a deeply entrenched industry in the world.
Favorite spot in JU?
Huh?
Favorite spot in JU?
Gastola.
Okay.
It's
Gastola in Green Zone.
Aurobindo Bhavaner ulto dike.
the government into the. Oh,
In,
I've never been there. I'm from Salt Lake campus, so I don't go
uh,
JU campus that often.
yeah, it's just opposite staff canteen.
Okay, would
Oh,
you
अच्छा अच्छा
say that
वो वाला
Yeah,
रेडियो के बगल वाला.
the badminton court
next to
that we are now?
placement center, whichever way you want to look at it.
हाँ.
Yeah, yeah. And we have not taken it as a rapid fire question, but we have that question. There are few persons in every one of us life that inspire us to move and move just forward, that we look upon. Could you name that legends in your life? It could be anyone, starting from your relative to anyone that are the best in the world.
I think the person who have had the most really strong influence in the way I think about a lot of things is is a mentor of mine from Airbus. So his name is Detlef Schoenbeck, and yeah, the way I think is a lot the way I think and I operate is thanks to him. So he's been one of my massive mentors over the years. He just changed the way I think through things.
Okay. Any advice you would like to give to us or JUA students in the common, undergrad students who are in second or third year, figuring out what to do in life?
Or would you like, if you are to have to relive your JU life again, so what would you suggest?
I think the main thing I would say is that the weird thing that I see, and I find it quite troubling, is that when you're probably in your third year, right? You're in your second year, you're in your third year,
end of second year, yeah.
End of second year, you're going to your third year, etc. I think you should be really brave enough to try and see if you can work at startups and as an intern or something like that. We've had folks interning at Paradime from IIT Kanpur, but they reach out to us all the time. And I think what you need to do is JU needs to have this way of kind of thinking about startups as a way for you to very quickly get a lot of skills. It is going to be painful, but you will learn a lot of things very quickly that will ultimately go on to help you understand what sort of career you want to choose. And I think this is very important. I would say that use this opportunity, whatever, work 2 months, work 3 months, but work at early stage businesses, even if that doesn't pay anything, because you are earning through experience. Okay. My first job was to count cars next to Khidirpur station, Khidirpur bridge. That was my first job, counting cars, okay, in telemarking. That was my first job. And then my second job, because I did it for 3 days and I didn't want to do it anymore in summer, my second job was counting papers, like how in Xerox shops they count papers. I can count papers like that because I was counting papers in civil engineering consultancy, so that I could count the total number of papers that have been printed. That was my second job. And the thing is that every job has something to teach you, but you should always be open to the idea of doing something, working somewhere. And I think this is very important, because by the time you graduate, your parents are going to tell you, go and get stability. You know, their other friends are going to go and do something, and then you will feel peer pressure to kind of do that. But if you use the time between now and that to form your own opinion a little bit, that then you can have a more objective conversation also with your parents to say that, hey, it's something I really want to do, and I have already done that in a low risk environment, and now I have the proof to say how I can do that. And I think a lot of time we settle for stability way too early in life, when you don't need to. Honestly, that age between 23 and 30 is where you need to experiment the most. What I find today is that people don't experiment anything between 22 and 20 and 30, and then they are like, oh, I'm super frustrated with whatever I do. And now people start experimenting when they should be starting to settle down. So I think this age between 22, 23 till 30 is when you should be experimenting with various different job positions, roles, whatever you can get your hands on, so that when you are 30 or so, you know what you're good at, and then you keep doubling down on that day in and day out, and then you will have astronomical exponential returns on career.
In
But
fact,
what happens,
this content club is also a part of our experiment to harness the power of content creation.
exactly, and this is a great thing that you're doing, because thing is that you see this, it's a low risk thing. You have so many free tools out there. Take this, take something that translates this into text, and then you take that text, take a chunk of that text, pass it through some other AI algorithm. You will get another blog. From one piece of 41 hour, you can generate 30 different pieces of content, and that then you can then play around with it in TikTok, here, there, everywhere, and
Yeah.
you will learn a lot more in a much shorter period of time than trying to get a job in a place. That place will say that, hey, we only do print, and that's all you're going to do for the rest of your life. So why settle? And that's my biggest advice. Don't settle. You are accepting stability way too early when you don't need to. There is a lot of risk left, and that risk is a calculated risk. It's not an uncalculated risk. It doesn't have to be. And we live in very different times than compared to times where our parents lived. And I think this is something people forget all the time, that if I were to ask my grandfather what I should be doing, I should be doing a government job. If I were to ask my parents what I should be doing, I should be doing a stable job. If people ask me what they should be doing, I probably would going to give a wrong answer as well, because all of these are very generational things. And I think you all need to think a lot more independently, say what you want to do, not what others expect you to do.
Thank you, Costa, for that advice and for this podcast, for giving us your time. Before we wrap up, we would like to thank our members Shubhojit, Kaustav Das, Rasedol, and Bitan for their questions. Harsh, if you would like to add anything.
Basically, Kaustav, we have tried to inculcate the entrepreneurship mindset in our college, but we have failed to do so. But we thought of let us learn from others. Let us learn from the mistake. Let us learn from the experiences of our huge Alum Connect. So we reached out to you. You were the first, but we are looking on to the next speaker, and we are ready to learn things. And in this process, we'll get a good networking that will help JU to shape its way in various talks, in various developing mindsets, so that we have good alum again in the next 10 to 20 years who will be the leaders of the world. Mm-hmm. So this was our experiment, and thanks for joining us. Thanks a lot.
No worries. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I enjoy these things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Costa.
Take care, everyone. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.